Hey everyone, it's Patrick. On the recent episode that we put across all the podcasts on the Inside the Boards network, you heard an interview updating or providing an overview about COVID-19 for medical students. And in that podcast episode, we mentioned that we'd be putting up a series of expert interviews with researchers, clinicians, and other influential people who have something to say about COVID-19 and to say it in a way that communicates accurate information and encourages a calm, measured response. Essentially the message, prepare but don't panic. In talking with Dr. O'Connell and the other people on the ITB team, we've actually decided to turn that into its own podcast. And so here is a trailer for the new COVID-19 podcast.
We know you have lots of questions.
If you think that you've developed symptoms.
Should I avoid large public gatherings? Whether schools should be closed?
Welcome to Commonsense. Here we address your questions about COVID-19 with interviews featuring experts in medicine and leaders in community, public, and global health. Your host is Dr. Ted O'Connell, family physician, educator, and author of many well-known medical textbooks. He also founded the nation's first fellowship to formally combine community medicine and global health.
Hi, I'm Patrick Beeman, board-certified OBGYN and founder of the InsideTheBoards network of medical education podcasts, as well as the co-founder of Ars Longa Media. Ars Longa Media is launching this podcast to educate the public about COVID-19, the disease caused by the novel coronavirus that has created a global pandemic. Now, more than ever, it is imperative that discussions on this topic be provided by experts in their respective fields. So this is a series of interviews with physicians, medical educators, public health and policy advocates, global health experts, and those with expertise in epidemiology. This podcast is for educational purposes only and is not meant to provide medical advice, but we hope this podcast brings you value, new knowledge, and instills a sense of calm because the information that we are gathering and presenting to you comes from trusted sources. The host of this show is Dr. Ted O'Connell. He is the Chief Content Officer for InsideTheBoards, my partner at Ars Longa Media. He's also a board-certified family physician, well-known medical educator, and founder of the Kaiser Permanente Napa-Solano Community Medicine and Global Health Fellowship, the first fellowship in the United States to formally combine both community medicine and global health. He completed his undergrad at University of Notre Dame and did med school at UCLA. His specialty training was completed at UCLA Santa Monica Hospital. He's the author of over a dozen medical textbooks that are used by medical students, residents, and practicing clinicians. You'll hear interviews in this podcast with experts like Dr. Robert Pearl, the former CEO of the Permanente Medical Group, the author of Mistreated, Why We Think We're Getting Good Healthcare and Why We're Usually Wrong, as well as host of the popular podcast Fixing Healthcare. We've also lined up interviews with the team docs for a couple professional sports teams. Father Bob Dowd, who is the director of the Ford Program in Human Development Studies and Solidarity at Notre Dame, as well as an expert in global health. Dr. Todd Foreman, who is a family medicine physician and a former member of the band Sublime. We've also lined up interviews with researchers and professors representing microbiology and immunology, as well as physicians who practice the specialties of emergency medicine, pediatric surgery, infectious disease, and other specialties as well. So thank you for joining us on this show. Hit subscribe, and if you have questions for any of our experts, go ahead and submit them to info@arslonga.media. Our global community can combat this pandemic, so let's join our efforts together in educating those within our circles of influence with accurate information about this pandemic to combat not only the spread of this disease, but also the hysteria that may spread along with it. You can also check out covidpodcast.com for even more articles and information related to addressing the COVID-19 pandemic. A few things. Number one, go search your favorite podcatcher for COVID-19 Commonsense Conversations on the coronavirus pandemic. It's available on all the usual podcatchers. Secondly, if you'd like to get involved using your time and yes, your expertise, you are medical students, and you do have much more expertise than your average member of the general public. If you would like to deploy those towards helping address issues surrounding the pandemic itself, and especially the misinformation that surrounds it, Dr. O'Connell has asked me to ask you to send an email to ted@InsideTheBoards.com. We've got kind of a number of initiatives that we need help with, and with Inside the Boards influence in the podcasting space and amongst medical students, we figured the responsible thing to do was to deploy our influence and leverage our network towards doing what we can to address COVID-19. And I should say, we will still be posting the interviews as they become available on the Inside the Boards mobile application under the playlist Inside the Boards. So these will be posted on the app for you medical students prior to releasing them as podcast episodes. It's just very difficult to get all this stuff edited and put together. But we figure you guys downloaded our app, you listen to our show, so you're okay with the rough edges. And so we're putting them up there as pre-release sorts of things. So
that's it for today. Thanks for listening. This has been a production of Ars Longa Media. Our producers are Madison Linden and Chris Brightigan. Our executive producer is Dr. Patrick Beeman. If you have questions about COVID-19 that you'd like discussed on the podcast, send an email to info@arslonga.media. This podcast is for educational purposes only and not intended for medical advice. Be vigilant, but remain calm. Ars Longa, Vita Brevis.